The valet takes my Honda Civic with the same practiced smile he gives the Mercedes and BMWs lined up at Giovanni's entrance. Through the restaurant's glass doors, crystal glasses catch the evening light, throwing prisms across crisp white tablecloths. Mother insisted on this place for their 40th anniversary dinner. Of course she did. I check my watch, 6:58 p.m. The reservation was for 7, which means Madison arrived 20 minutes ago to hold court. My sister believes fashionably late is for people who don't matter enough to set the tone. The maitre d' glances at my simple black dress, his eyes lingering a heartbeat too long on the scuff mark on my sensible heels. Name? Morgan. I'm with the anniversary party. His expression shifts from polite disinterest to practiced warmth. Ah yes, the Morgan celebration. Your sister mentioned you might be joining us. Might be joining. The words settle like ice in my stomach. He leads me through the dining room, past tables where conversations pause just long enough for diners to note my passage. Mother selected a private alcove near the back, separated from the main dining area by an ornate wooden screen. Madison's laugh carries over the barrier, bright and practiced like everything else about her. I round the screen, and there she is, resplendent in a crimson designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She's perched at the center of the table, gesturing with perfect French manicured nails as she regales our cousins with what I'm sure is a carefully curated story. Clara, Mother's voice carries just a touch too much surprise. We were beginning to wonder. I check my watch again. 7:02 p.m. Madison doesn't pause her story, doesn't even glance my way. The only empty chair sits at the far end of the table, next to an enormous potted fern that blocks half the view of the room. How fitting. Father rises halfway from his seat, an automatic response to a lady joining the table, but sinks back down when he realizes it's just me. You remember everyone, of course? He waves vaguely at the gathered faces, some familiar, some not. I nod, sliding into my assigned exile by the plant. A young man I don't recognize leans over from the next seat. Sorry, what did you say your name was? Clara. Clara Morgan. His brow furrows. Oh, are you related to Madison? Before I can answer, servers appear with champagne flutes, a choreographed dance of white-gloved hands and sparkling crystal. The envelope in my purse seems to grow heavier. I'd planned to present it during dessert $60,000 saved over 7 years, a gesture of gratitude despite everything, a peace offering, a final attempt. Madison stands, and the whole room seems to lean toward her like flowers following the sun. She raises her glass, diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. To Walter and Linda Morgan. Her voice carries perfectly, each word crafted for maximum impact. Thank you for raising the most incredible only child anyone could ask for. The silence that follows isn't the shocked kind. No one gasps, no one glances my way, no one corrects her. Mother and father beam, raising their glasses in acknowledgement. Uncle Dennis starts to shift in his seat, but Aunt Carol's hand on his arm stills him. Memories flash through my mind like photographs dropping from a shuffled stack. 7-year-old me sitting alone at a school concert while they fussed over Madison's costume for a performance 3 weeks away. 12-year-old me watching from the window as they took her shopping for a special occasion dress, having forgotten to wake me. 16-year-old me at honors night, scanning the audience, finding only empty seats where my parents should have been, but there was Aunt Carol, smiling and waving. Uncle Dennis beside her with his trusty camera. The cousin's boyfriend leans over again. Sorry, what was your name again? My hands are steady as I reach for my purse. The envelope inside, thick, cream-colored, expensive, feels solid and real. I'd chosen it carefully, wanting the presentation to be perfect. Wanting to finally make them proud, to prove I was worth noticing. The room continues its usual orbit around Madison as I stand. No heads turn my way. No conversations pause. I am a ghost, moving through their celebration unnoticed. But for the first time, the invisibility feels like armor instead of a wound. I walk with measured steps to where Carol and Dennis sit, slightly apart from the main group as always. Carol looks up, her kind eyes widening slightly as I place the envelope in front of her. This is for you, I say, my voice quiet but clear. The room falls silent then, conversations dropping away like stones into still water. Madison's laugh cuts off mid-note. Mother's silverware clinks against her plate. Carol's hand trembles slightly as she reaches for the envelope. Clara, what? Open it later. I manage a small smile, real warmth seeping into it as I look at the two people who've actually seen me all these years. When you get home. Dennis's weathered hand covers mine for a moment, a gesture so paternal it makes my throat tight. I turn away before anyone can see the moisture in my eyes, walking past Madison's perfect posture and Mother's frozen smile and Father's carefully blank expression. The matron appears with my coat, summoned by some invisible signal. As he helps me into it, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I stand straighter than I have in years. Behind me, the shock is finally settling in. Chairs scrape against the floor. Madison's voice rises, sharp with confusion. Mother calls my name, the tone shifting from surprise to command. I step out into the cool Connecticut evening, and for the first time in 35 years, I don't look back. Now in a flashback, the memories overwhelm me. The first box arrived in March, while I was studying for midterms. Mother knocked once, pushed open my bedroom door without waiting for a response. "Clara, we need to store some of Madison's competition trophies. You don't mind if we put them in here, do you?" She didn't wait for an answer, already arranging gleaming gold figures along my bookshelf. The afternoon light caught each engraved plate. Madison Morgan, first place. Madison Morgan, outstanding achievement. Madison Morgan, rising star. My design textbooks migrated to a cardboard box under my bed. "Just temporary," Mother said, but we both knew better. By May, my walls wore Madison's debate team photos. June brought her honor roll certificates. In August, Mother installed a desk for when Madison needs a quiet place to study. The fact that I lived and studied in this room seemed irrelevant. When I announced my acceptance to Rhode Island School of Design, Mother was refolding Madison's laundry. "That's nice, dear." She smoothed invisible wrinkles from a cashmere sweater. "Did you hear Madison got promoted? Junior VP of Communications at 25, the youngest in company history." The Morgan family photo wall told our story in careful chronological order. Madison's first steps, Madison's dance recital, Madison's graduation. I appeared in Christmas photos, always slightly off-center, usually half hidden behind an uncle or cousin. In the rare solo shots, my smile looked uncertain, as if I wasn't quite sure I belonged in the frame. But 3 hours away, in a modest ranch house with wind chimes on the porch, another collection grew. Aunt Carol kept a scrapbook. My first watercolor exhibition at the Community Centera small affair, but she drove through a snowstorm to attend. The local paper write-up of my internship with Preston Design. The business card from my first freelance job. "Look what came in the mail," she would say during our weekly calls, the shuffle of newspaper clippings carrying through the phone line. She read each one aloud, pride warming her voice. "Have you seen this? The Portland Home and Garden feature about your sunroom redesign?" I hadn't. Mother subscribed to that magazine. Uncle Dennis taught me to change a tire on a humid Saturday when my parents took Madison College shopping. "Everyone should know this," he said, demonstrating the proper way to position the jack. "Your father should have shown you years ago." The next weekend, he helped me open my first investment account. The following month, he explained compound interest and the importance of an emergency fund. "Financial independence," he said, tapping the calculator, "means you have to depend on anyone else's approval." I saved carefully after that. Extra clients. Weekend consultations. Every spare dollar tucked away in an account that grew slowly but steadily. $60,000 over 7 years. A thank you to the parents who gave me life, even if they rarely noticed how I lived it. The letter took 16 drafts. "Dear Mom and Dad, thank you for giving me a safe home and an education. I know I wasn't the daughter you expected, but I hope this gift shows my gratitude for the life you provided. The money represents 7 years of work proof that you raised someone who understands the value of dedication and perseverance, even if I express it differently than Madison. With love, Clara." The words felt inadequate. Everything I wrote sounded either bitter or desperate for approval. But maybe the money would speak louder than words. Maybe this time they would finally see me. "Your sister's latest ad campaign reached 14 million viewers," Father announced at Thanksgiving. I had just completed a historical restoration project, transforming a crumbling Victorian into a modern family home while preserving its original character. The Architectural Journal coverage sat unopened on their coffee table. "Clara Morgan?" A potential client squinted at my business card. Any relation to Madison Morgan, the marketing genius? My daughter is so talented, Mother told her bridge club. She meant Madison, of course. I stood in the hallway, portfolio clutched to my chest, listening as she detailed Madison's latest triumph. You should be grateful, Madison said over Christmas dinner, reaching for another roll. They don't pressure you to succeed like they do me. All those expectations. She smiled, butter knife catching the light. Really, being invisible is a gift. The envelope sat in my purse now, heavy with more than money. 7 years of careful saving. 7 years of hoping this gesture might finally bridge the gap. 7 years of pretending I didn't see the truth written on every wall of their house. My hand trembled as I lifted the envelope this morning, testing its weight one last time. For a moment, I almost changed my mind. Almost convinced myself that tonight would be different. Almost believed that $60,000 could buy the love I had spent 35 years trying to earn. But the Morgan family photo wall still told its carefully curated story. And in a modest ranch house 3 hours away, a different story waited to be told. The envelope contained more than money. It held years of unspoken truth. But what happens when a family's carefully maintained illusion is finally shattered by a single quiet act? Uncle Dennis would say it's simple mathematics. Subtract the lies, add the truth, and trust the final sum. Now in reality, my phone screen blazes with 17 missed calls in the pale dawn light. The timestamps march backward through the night. 6:47 a.m., 4:12 a.m., 2:35 a.m., 11:52 p.m. Voicemails stack up like winter firewood. I let them sit unplayed, watching steam rise from my morning tea. The first message breaks through at 8 a.m. sharp. Father's voice carries that special chill reserved for business enemies and disappointing children. You've embarrassed this family. 4 words, then silence. No goodbye. Mother takes longer to deliver her strike. Her message stretches past the 3-minute mark, words tumbling over each other in practiced distress. How could you hurt us this way? After everything we've sacrificed? The familiar guilt rises in my throat. But something else rises with Ida's strange, wild lightness. Madison waits until noon. The text arrives with surgical precision. A screenshot from 3 years ago, words I'd written to Carol during a moment of raw honesty about feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes I want to scream until they see me, until they remember I exist. Madison's message follows. Clearly you've been unstable for a while. We're all very concerned. I block her number. Then my parents. The silence fills my apartment like sunlight after a storm. Carol calls at 2 p.m. Her voice trembles. We haven't opened it yet. You can. The words come easily now. Clara, honey. A rustling sound, then Dennis in the background. More rustling, a sharp intake of breath. This is $60,000. Yes. We didn't do anything to deserve this. My fingers trace the rim of my empty teacup. You loved me, that was enough. Silence stretches between us, warm and honest. Then Carol's voice changes. Madison sent me something. A text you wrote. I remember. My hand still's on the cup. I meant every word. I was drowning in silence, and you were the only ones who heard me. A sound between a laugh and a sob. We always heard you, sweetheart. That night, I sleep without dreaming for the first time in years. The morning brings clarity sharp as winter sunshine. I sit at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The letter forms itself. Dear Mother and Father, I release you from any obligation to explain or defend my existence. I release myself from the burden of proving I deserve space in this world. Please do not contact me again. I wish you peace, but I am done pretending. Clara. The send button clicks with finality. I stand, walk to my living room wall where family photos hang in careful formation. Mother's face smiles from behind glass, Madison radiant beside her. My own face appears in corners, half-cropped from special moments. The frames come down one by one. My phone rings. A client whose Victorian renovation I've spent 6 months on, transforming dated rooms into living spaces. Her voice carries wonder. Clara, I just walked through the house for the first time since you finished. It finally feels like home. Home. The word echoes as I wrap the family photos in the newspaper. They'll go to the attic, a history preserved but no longer defining my present. The next morning brings an invitation to Cousin Sarah's baby shower. My fingers find the decline button without hesitation. No excuse, no apology. Just, I won't be able to attend. Best wishes for the new arrival. The weight lifts from my shoulders so suddenly I gasp. Years of carefully crafted explanations, of making myself small enough to fit family expectations gone in 2 sentences. A text from cousin James appears. Heard some weird happened at the dinner. You okay? I stare at those 3 words. You okay? The automatic response forms. I'm fine. Delete. Everything's great. Delete. No, I'm not okay. But I will be. Send. The truth sits strange and wonderful on my tongue. I carry it into my next client meeting. The young couple wants to renovate their first home. The wife speaks hesitantly about colors, glancing at her husband for approval. I recognize the familiar dance of making oneself smaller. Tell me about your perfect space, I say, not what you think you should want. What makes your heart feel at home? Her eyes light up. For the next hour, she paints pictures with words-rich jewel tones, warm woods, spaces that wrap around you like a hug. Her husband watches her with growing wonder. I sketch as she speaks, letting her vision flow through my pencil. When I turn the paper toward them, she covers her mouth. That's exactly what I see in my head. How did you know? Because you told me. When we stop apologizing for our truth, beautiful things happen. The words surprise me with their certainty. I touch the silver pendant Carol gave me years ago, remembering her voice. Your vision matters, Clara. Never let anyone tell you different. That evening, I update my portfolio website. No more safe beiges and cautious designs. I fill the page with my boldest work, the sunroom that blooms with stained glass light, the library with its secret reading nook, the kitchen where 3 generations now gather to bake holiday cookies. Spaces that tell stories, spaces that see people. My phone buzzes, a text from Carol. The scholarship paperwork is ready. Are you sure you want your name on it? I think of some future student, feeling invisible, finding proof that being seen matters. That quiet truth deserves celebration. Yes, my name belongs there. The sun sets behind Portland's winter trees. I stand at my window, watching the harbor lights blink on one by one. Each light a home, each home a story, each story waiting to be heard. In the growing dark, I whisper the truth I've carried since that dinner. I see you now. I see me. The harbor bells chime 8 o'clock, 1800. Somewhere in Connecticut, my parents are probably sitting down to dinner. Madison might be planning her next calculated move. But here, in this space I've created, their voices can't reach me anymore. I pick up my sketchbook, open to a fresh page. Tonight, I'll design something just for me. Something that speaks in my voice, without translation or apology. The pencil moves across paper, creating rooms filled with light. 2 weeks later, Uncle Dennis spots their car first. Linda and Walter, he says through the kitchen window, his weathered hands pausing over the tomato plants he's pruning. Aunt Carol's spoon clatters against the mixing bowl, but she continues stirring her banana bread batter as their Mercedes pulls into the gravel driveway. Unannounced, Carol murmurs, sliding the bowl onto the counter. That's new. They watch through the window as Linda emerges from the passenger side, wearing a St. John knit suit despite the casual Sunday afternoon. Walter follows, gripping a leather portfolio like a shield. Carol wipes her hands on her apron, leaving a dusting of flour that matches her silver hair. Ready? Dennis nods, moving to stand beside her. The doorbell chimes. Linda's smile is brittle when Carol opens the door. We need to discuss Clara's episode. Please, come in. Carol's voice carries the same gentle tone she uses for spooked horses at the rescue farm where she volunteers. Walter settles into their worn plaid armchair, his posture rigid against the comfortable cushions. Linda perches on the edge of the sofa, brushing invisible lint from her sleeve. The money needs to be returned, Walter announces without preamble. For the sake of family harmony. Dennis folds his arms across his chest. The gesture makes his John Deere t-shirt stretch across shoulders still strong from decades of real work. We don't take from family. His voice holds the quiet certainty of a man who spent 40 years teaching high school physics. But we do accept gifts. Linda's fingers twist her pearl necklace. You don't understand what this is doing to Madison. She's devastated. I imagine she is, Carol says, settling into her rocking chair. The wood creaks softly, a sound that soothed countless family gatherings. Truth often has that effect, Walter slaps the portfolio onto their coffee table, sending Carol's latest issue of Better Homes and Gardens sliding onto the floor. We've prepared documentation. Clara's behavior has been concerning. Has it? Dennis retrieves the magazine, smoothing its pages with careful hands. From where we sit, she's never been clearer. The lawyer's letter arrives 3 days later, heavy cream paper carrying veiled suggestions about Clara's mental state when making the gift. Carol reads it twice, then files it carefully in the folder where she's kept every card and program from Clara's events over the years. Madison's campaign starts subtly. A Facebook post about supporting loved ones through difficult times. A carefully curated photo of her comforting their mother. Comments flood in, asking what's wrong, allowing Madison to spin her story of concern. I just worry about Clara, she tells their cousin Sarah over coffee at the country club. Her voice carries just enough for the next table to hear. She's always been sensitive. Remember when she missed my high school graduation? Mother tried so hard to help, but you know how Clara gets. The truth that Clara had been in the emergency room with appendicitis while Carol held her hand doesn't fit Madison's narrative. In the next few following days, Clara's clients start mentioning their concerns. Mrs. Whitman, reviewing swatches for her sunroom, brings it up casually. Your sister called. She's so worried about you, dear. Said something about erratic behavior? Clara sets down her fabric samples. Mrs. Whitman, would you say my work has been erratic? The older woman glances around her half-finished sunroom, where Clara's design has transformed a dark space into a symphony of light and comfort. No, she says slowly. Actually, you're the most reliable professional I've ever worked with. Then let's focus on selecting the perfect fabric for your window seats. Clara's phone buzzes constantly with family members choosing sides. She lets their messages pile up, unread. Her social media stays quiet, no defensive posts. No public battles. She posts only her work. Before and after photos, design tips, client testimonials. Coastal Living magazine features her renovation of a sea captain's house. Morgan's honest, unpretentious aesthetic breathes new life into historical spaces. The article reads, her designs feel like coming home. New clients seek her out specifically because of her authenticity. No showhouse glitter, one tells her. Just real homes for real people. The surprises come in small ways. A card from her father's college roommate. I was at your 3rd grade art show. Your parents missed it, but I saw your talent then. Still do. A message from a second cousin. They did the same thing to my mother. Call me if you need to talk. On Friday, a local design school student appears at her office. Mrs. Peterson said you might be willing to mentor me? Clara recognizes Carol's handwriting on the girl's reference letter, sees her own younger self in the hopeful eyes. Tell me about your dreams, Clara says, pulling up a chair. The scholarship announcement appears in the local paper on Tuesday next week. The Carol and Dennis Peterson Design Scholarship, established in honor of Clara Morgan, will provide annual support to emerging artists and designers who demonstrate exceptional promise. Clara reads the notice over her morning tea, sunlight streaming through the windows of her apartment. Her calendar notification pings. Christmas, Carol and Dennis. Her design schedule fills steadily. A historic farmhouse renovation, a young family's first home, a waterfront cottage being transformed for retirement dreams. Each project chosen for substance over flash, each client seeking something real. The silence in her apartment wraps around her like a favorite blanket. No performance required, no constant vigilance, no need to make herself smaller to fit someone else's story. She waters her windowsill herbs, basil, thyme, rosemary, the plants Carol helped her choose when she first moved in. Their fragrance fills the morning air, honest and green and alive. Her phone lights up with another message from her mother. She lets it fade to black, unread. The truth sits in her chest, solid and warm as a river stone. Some forms of peace can only be found on the far side of no. 3 weeks later. The silver Lexus sits in my driveway like an accusation. Walter and Linda Morgan, perfect posture intact, wait on my front porch as if they belong there. The winter sun catches Linda's pearl necklace, throwing small rainbows against the weathered wood siding of the house they've never bothered to visit before. My fingers tighten around my steering wheel. Their presence feels like an invasion, especially with that manila envelope clutched in Walter's manicured hands. I've seen enough family photos over the years to recognize a manipulation attempt when I see one. Something shifts in my chest, not fear, not anger, but a strange calm. I park beside their car, noting the Connecticut plates that mean they drove 4 hours to ambush me. The fact that they finally made the effort would have meant everything 3 months ago. Clara. Linda steps forward, arms extended for an embrace that will never come. We've been so worried. I unlock my front door, considering my options. The Clara they remember would have stood on the porch, letting the January wind steal her warmth while they wrote the script. But that Clara doesn't live here anymore. You can come in for 30 minutes, I say, voice steady. I have a client meeting at 3. The lie settles between us. They know it's Sunday. I know they know, but they follow me inside because the alternative means admitting they drove all this way for nothing. My living room welcomes them with warm cream walls and carefully curated furniture, each piece selected to create the sense of home I never felt in theirs. Linda's eyes catch on the original artwork, the hand-knotted rug, the custom bookcases. Her lips purse as she calculates the cost, looking for evidence of financial instability to support their narrative. Would you like tea? I move toward the kitchen, not waiting for an answer. The ritual of measuring loose leaves, warming the pot, selecting cups becomes a small act of control. They can't start their performance until I return with the tray. We brought some things we thought you should see. Walter's voice carries that familiar stern, note the tone that once made me shrink into myself. He spreads photos across my coffee table like playing cards in a game I'm tired of losing. Linda perches on the edge of my sofa, hands clasped. We've been doing a lot of thinking, sweetheart. About family. About healing. The water boils. I pour it over the leaves, watching them unfurl. 3 minutes to steep. The silence stretches. Carol told us you won't return our calls, Linda continues, voice trembling. After everything we've done for you, when was the last time you called just to ask how I was? The question slips out quietly, carried on the steam rising from the teapot. Linda blinks. Walter shifts in his seat. I place the tray on the coffee table, nudging aside their photos to make room. Not when you needed something. Not when Madison told you to check on me. Just to ask how I was doing. Now, Clara, that's not fair. Walter's finger taps against the manila envelope. We've always supported you. Look at these, your 5th birthday party, the family trip to Cape Cod, your high school graduation. I reach for my bag, still sitting by the door where I dropped it. The calendar I pull out is worn at the edges, pages marked with post-its and colored tabs. May 15th, 2009, my first design showcase. You marked attending on the RSVP. Carol drove 3 hours to be there. Each word falls like a pebble into still water. The 3rd of December, 2012. Emergency appendectomy. The nurse asked 5 times if there was anyone else she should call besides Carol. You're being dramatic. Walter's face flushes. We had commitments. To Madison's events. Always to Madison's events. I lay my old hospital bracelet next to their perfect photos. You didn't forget I existed just once. You forgot every day. You've always been difficult. The words explode from Walter, shattering the careful script. Always so sensitive, so demanding. Your sister never... I'm not difficult. My voice remains level, though my hands shake slightly as I pour the tea. I was just never Madison. Linda's tears fall now, real ones. Not the practice drops she used to summon at family gatherings. Her fingers clutch her necklace as if it might anchor her to the reality she thought she knew. Please, Clara. Her voice cracks. We can fix this. We can all get counseling, learn to communicate better. Madison says... Madison isn't here. I stand, crossing to the door. I wish you well, but this is my home and I'm asking you to leave. You ungrateful. Walter starts to rise, but Linda's hand on his arm stops him. The silence fills my living room like morning fog, heavy with things we'll never say. Linda gathers their photos with trembling fingers. Walter's hands clench and unclench around the manila envelope he never opened. They walk to their car beneath the winter sun that paints long shadows across my driveway. The same sun that rose this morning over a daughter they thought they could still control, and sets now on a woman they never really knew. I close my door on the sound of their engine starting. My tea has grown cold, but I drink it anyway, tasting truth instead of bitterness. The frames on my walls hold different memories now. Carol and Dennis at my first Maine Christmas, friends who became family gathered in my garden, spaces I've designed that tell stories of being seen. Above my desk, a small sign reads, "Home is where your story begins." Mine begins here, in the quiet after the storm, where peace tastes like cold tea and victory feels like finally exhaling. A month later, the scent of cinnamon and pine needles wraps around me as I step into Carol and Dennis's home. Handmade ornaments from the 1970s dangle from a slightly crooked Christmas tree construction paper, angels with cotton ball beards, plastic bread tags spray-painted gold, wooden clothespins transformed into nutcrackers. No color-coordinated theme, no professional decorator's touch, just 40 years of collected memories, each one hung with love. "Clara!" Carol's laugh bubbles from the kitchen, accompanied by the clatter of cookie sheets and the warm aroma of ginger. "Come taste these before Dennis eats them all." Dennis appears in the doorway, cookie crumbs dusting his flannel shirt. "I'm quality control," he announces with mock solemnity. His eyes crinkle at the corners as he pulls me into a hug that smells of wood smoke and wintergreen lifesavers. The kitchen counter overflows with mismatched plates of snickerdoodles and thumbprint cookies. A radio plays Bing Crosby, the sound scratchy and perfect. Carol hasn't bothered with makeup, her silver hair escaping its clip as she rolls out another batch of dough. "Your portfolio's on the coffee table," Dennis says, settling into his worn leather armchair. "That young couple from church stopped by yesterday. Their daughter's graduating design school in May." His voice carries quiet pride. "Wanted to show her what real talent looks like." My throat tightens. I remember being that student full of dreams and doubts, wondering if I'd ever be good enough. But unlike my story, this young woman has people who believe in her. Carol wipes flour from her hands and joins us, perching on the sofa arm. "We've been meaning to tell you something, Clara." She exchanges a glance with Dennis. "About the money." My stomach clenches, old instincts flaring. But Carol's next words dissolve the tension. "We used part of it to start a scholarship," she says softly, "for young designers who need a little help getting started." Her hand finds mine. "We thought you'd want us to pass it forward." The room blurs. Dennis clears his throat. "The Clara Morgan Design Scholarship," he says. "Unless, if that's difficult, we don't have to use your name." I squeeze Carol's fingers, remembering all the times they showed up when no one else did. All the small kindnesses that added up to love. "I want my name on it," I whisper. "I'm not hiding anymore." Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a text from Sarah, one of my newest clients. Her design consultation reminds me so much of myself. At 23, talented but unsure, permission slips still stuck in her vocabulary. "Would it be okay if..." I was thinking maybe. "If it's not too much trouble." I text back, "Your instincts are solid. Trust them." 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, "Thank you for seeing me." The words hit like a physical touch. I glance around my apartment, no longer the sparse, careful space it once was. Photos crowd the walls. Carol and Dennis at my first gallery showing. My friend Marcus and his husband at their housewarming, surrounded by the built-ins I designed. Sarah's preliminary sketches tacked next to paint swatches and fabric samples. The phone rings. Cousin Rachel, who chose to maintain contact despite the family's unofficial embargo. "Just checking in," she says. No pressure, no agenda, just connection. Carol's question from dinner echoes in my mind. "Do you regret it?" I sink into my favorite reading chair, the one I reupholstered myself in soft velvet the color of sea glass. Outside, snow falls in lazy spirals, each flake visible in the glow of my porch light. Tomorrow I'll meet Sarah for coffee, then stop by the local design college to mentor their winter graduates. Next week, Carol and Dennis are helping me host a New Year's open house, and nothing fancy, just good food and better company. "Not at all," I answered Carol. "I didn't walk away from my family, I walked toward one." The truth of those words settles into my bones like warmth. Some might see empty chairs around my holiday table, hear silence where blood relations should speak. But I see the spaces filled with chosen family, hear laughter unmarred by comparison or competition. I see myself, finally visible, moving through my own life with quiet confidence. The snow continues falling, each flake finding its perfect place in the gathering dusk. Like me, they don't need permission to belong exactly where they land.